From Dodge Arena, Hidalgo, Texas, we welcome you to an evening of boxing after dark being brought to you by Oscar de la Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions in association with the Mexican state of Chihuahua, Tierra de Encuentro, Tampico Energy Drink. The new Tampico Energy Drink es el más bravo, and HBO Sports. This is the main event of the evening. 12 rounds for the interim WBO Featherweight Championship of the World. Supervising for the WBO, Luis Perez. The judges are Rocky Burke, Dr. Ruben Garcia, and Levi Martinez. The referee, Lawrence Cole. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Philippines and Mexico face off once again in the ring to find out who is El Más Macho. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner and wearing the colors of his homeland, red, white, and blue. He weighed in at an official 123 3/4 pounds. His professional record, 27 victories, with only 2 losses, 1 draw, and 12 of his victories coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Negros Oriental, the Philippines, Jimrex, the Executioner, Jaca. Across the ring in the red corner, dressed in the colors of Mexico, green, white, and red. Weighing in at 124 1/2 pounds. He maintains an impressive professional record consisting of 45 victories, with 3 losses, 1 draw, and 34 of his victories coming by way of knockout. The former WBA and IBF featherweight champion of the world, and the defending WBO interim featherweight champion de la Ciudad de México, DF, Juan Manuel Marquez.
Maybe he has a little more left in the tank.
And also, even though he's maybe older than Barrera and those guys, he has not been in any war fight that I can remember. The only one was Pacquiao, but other than that, he's been able to get through his fights just using his skills. So therefore, he isn't as much worn and torn as the other fighters are.
He's younger in boxing years.
The boxing years is much younger. Barrera and the guys, Morales, has done a lot of big super fights.
I'll tell you what, so far, Jaca is making the fight a little more than anticipated.
Marquez in the traditional Mexican colors. Jaca in the red and blue. He is a southpaw. Marquez says, no worries. 4 of the last 6 fighters who he's faced have been southpaws. You know, now he gets a little nervous. He's got to go up against a conventional fighter. And there you see Marquez land a straight right.
Marquez is fighting a lot more aggressive than he normally and punching with a lot more authority. He seems to be very determined to be impressive tonight.
Does, but I'll tell you one thing, Jaca has fast hands, and he's making Marquez's hands look a little slower, I think, than they normally look.
Yeah, but Marquez is going for power tonight, I think, more so than technical.
Marquez got burned 2 fights ago. He lost a decision that more than a few observers thought he should have won in Indonesia against Chris John, who is undefeated.
Manny mentioned he's going for power. As you mentioned earlier, friend, he even acknowledges he's looking for the KO tonight. I never heard him say something like that.
Yeah, and he's got caught with a beautiful straight left right there by Jaca.
Jaca doing work to the body, but Marquez spins him around and now goes to town in the corner.
This could turn out to be a much more exciting fight than we all expected.
It was a left hook from Marquez.
Marquez and Jaca trading blows, and we're just 2 minutes into the first round.
You know, I thought that Jaca was going to be more of a boxer looking at the films of him in the past, but he's seemingly trying to be a power puncher tonight, the same as Marquez. It means we have a good, exciting fight on our hands.
Marquez doubles up with the left hand, and unloads a right in a nice combination.
He's fighting a fast southpaw from the Philippines, but this one doesn't hit like a ton of bricks as Pacquiao does.
Nice stuff here in the opening round of a scheduled 12-rounder between Juan Manuel Marquez and Jimrex Jaca.
Jimrex is trying to land almost the same identical straight left through the center that Pacquiao was so effective with when he fought Marquez.
When we go to the corner of Jaca, where they speak Tagalog, Ernie Kalug will translate, and when we go to the corner of Marquez, where they speak Spanish, CompuBox numbers in round one. Marquez 18, landing 18 out of 54. Jaca 18 out of 80.
Thought that replay was a great illustration of technically how good Marquez is. On offense, you saw it there. Straight right hand. Excellent uppercut. Left hook.
And there you see how Harold Letterman scored the first round, and he gave it to the youngster from the Philippines, Jaca. This fight was supposed to take place just over a month ago. Jaca had some visa problems. And in between now and then, he has joined Golden Boy Promotions.
I respectfully disagree with Harold, which doesn't often happen, I find. But I think that it was Marquez who did some of the hurting in that round. Although
couldn't tell if Marquez just was off balance or if he got rocked. Seems to be steady on his feet now.
Marquez is a wee tad slower than he normally is, I think, because he's trying to fight for power tonight. Normally he's a lot faster, a lot more elusive with his upper body movement. And the way he's fighting right now, this is anybody's fight, because he himself got caught with a right hook, even though he might have been off balance. It could have been a facial knockdown still.
He just landed a straight right.
Nope. And also, Jaca just landed a left little uppercut inside.
Here we go, man.
You know, going into this fight, it doesn't seem like this is the kind of fighter that would prepare you for Manny Pacquiao. And yet, Manny, it looks to me like Jaca's fighting similarly to Pacquiao in many respects.
A little slower version, not as intense, not as fierce, but still definitely a version of Pacquiao.
And main thing is not the punching power.
There is a cut over the left eye, I believe, of Jimrex Jaca. Marquez unloads. A right hand. And there you see what Marquez does so well. He leaned back and he counterpunched with his left.
But Jaca's counterpunching him also sometimes when he comes in. By simply moving back, which is interesting because I thought he would be moving around a lot more, but Jaca's just taking a little step back sometimes, just enough to let Marquez miss.
Over time, class tells. Let's see if it tells in this fight. If Marquez can make adjustments and start to pull away.
Marquez trying to end round two with a flurry. They will go to work on the cut.
Because he would not have went down without being hit.
Agreed.
This is just the second fight in the United States for Jaca. The last one was pretty impressive against Geronimo Hernandez. It was a first-round TKO. He was fighting on the undercard of Pacquiao Morales 2.
He's giving Marquez a lot of problems because of the little step that he pulls back a lot, just enough to make Marquez get out of position himself. Instead of throwing punches and just staying there, he punches it in, he pulls back just enough, like he does right there.
Nice wide left hook shook Jaca.
Manny, I've heard you describe Tito Trinidad in his prime as a killer robot. He figured out what he needed to do in the first few rounds, and then he executed. And Marquez throughout his career has reminded me of that. It's still early in the fight. Generally, he starts to dominate as the rounds go on.
I don't know if he's going to be that effective. This guy seems to have his number here tonight. This kid is fighting a very intelligent fight. Very elusive up in his upper body right there. Very focused. And Marquez cannot get a good, consistent rhythm going with any combinations.
Punch was blocked by Jaca.
But it was blocked with such force from Marquez that I think it did a little something.
And I think ditto on that one.
Yeah.
It was blocked, but there was some pepper coming off that from Marquez.
And I've seen Jaca miss a little bit more in this round than he was earlier.
Yeah, but the one thing we know that once Jaca slows down at all, Marquez is going to step it up, take it to another level.
I see Marquez applying a little more pressure here.
It's not only that, but Jaca was always keeping that little distance between them. He's not that effective with it now, I think, because he's tiring a little bit. Where he was always pulling back. Now Marquez is beginning to get his range now.
Marquez showed you a little bit of the speed that he says he has left.
He looks like a slower fighter to me than he did.
He looks slower to me. I agree. He looks slower. He looks seasoned, very professional, but still slow.
At least compared to this guy.
Marquez starting to settle into the fight now. Jaca unloads an uppercut. Jaca's punch output slows down just a little bit. Marquez trying to steal, and Marquez is now with, as is Jimrex Jaca. Let's bring in Harold Letterman to see how he has to shoot the fight.
Okay, Fred. 2 rounds to 1, 29-28, Jimrex Jaca. That first round was very, very close. Could have gone either way. I was really surprised at the style of Jimrex Jaca. I mean, this is 2 guys standing there fighting on a dime. In any case, the second round, Jaca staggered him. I thought he won that. But round 3, one man, Marquez had his best round of the fight. 2-1, Jaca.
It's not uncommon for Marquez to start slowly. It is uncommon to see him fight with this kind of passion. He seems to be not only fighting aggressively, but like he really is trying to take this guy's head off.
Both fighters now opening up a little bit here in the 4th round. If he had matched this kind of passion in previous fights, he maybe then would have gotten the fights that he wanted to have.
Or perhaps he wouldn't have won some of those fights and not been where he, not been as dominant as he was.
All right, touche.
But that's the tightrope that Barrera has walked in recent years, where he's become technical when he's needed the win and exciting when he was clearly better than the other guy.
But that's following a long career where he was explosive.
Yes.
Nice overhand right from Juan Manuel Marquez. Jaca now trying to lead with the left hand.
Jaca doesn't have the punching power, Marquez, but he's fighting a very good fight, and thus far, this round seemingly is winning the round.
Normally against southpaws, Manny, guys are on guard for that straight left hand and don't see the right hook. Marquez seems to be caught with that straight left hand a little more than you'd anticipate.
Yeah,
Why?
I'm noting I'm really beginning to have a lot of second thoughts about the fight with Pacquiao, because Pacquiao punches with a lot more speed and power than the Jaca.
On the other hand, the fact that he looks vulnerable still, he is fighting a southpaw with a good straight left hand, and that's put him in kind of the, he's active against a guy like that. Might that not be an advantage against Pacquiao in an arena?
But what I'm concerned about, Marquez seemed to have lost just a little step in his speed, and you can't do that with a guy like Pacquiao. It is a close competitive fight on the scorecards now.
I think it's an even fight.
And you saw Jaca's corner, Jose Reyes there, the cut man, with that cut under control over Jaca's left eye. In the 5th round of a scheduled 12-rounder here at Dodge Arena in Hidalgo, Texas, Fran Charles alongside Emmanuel Stewart and Max Kellerman. And this was supposed to be a rebirth here for Juan Manuel Marquez. Got his hands full.
He does, but I'll tell you what, should he come out with a win here, I think this is more in his interest than it would have been to just chase a guy around for 12 rounds.
Well, the opponent is fighting him perfectly, and especially if he's looking forward to fighting Pacquiao. He's got a watered-down version of Pacquiao right here in front of him.
This is why some fighters don't watch tape, and Jaca says he doesn't watch tape of his opponents, because maybe the guy on the tape isn't the guy you face.
Well, gamesmanship maybe there by Marquez. Jaca, he wanted to make sure everything was all good. Marquez wouldn't touch gloves, and now there's a cut.
Stop. Time. Neutral corner, right there, right there.
Over the right eye, it's a gash.
And it's bleeding. It's kind of spouting blood.
I think it came from a punch, too.
Accidental. 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 Accidental headbutt.
All right, referee Lawrence Cole says it came from an accidental headbutt.
Okay.
Box.
Could have, because it's a very hard, bad cut. When you see two heads bump together, that's what happens when two skulls crash. The flesh in between gets busted. Very bad cut.
I'll tell you what, if Harold's scorecard's right, that puts Marquez in some trouble.
And Marquez, you can tell, sensing he doesn't want the fight to be in danger because of the cut. Going to work here in the 5th round. This is the 5th fight that we know of with Jaca where headbutts have been an issue.
We have not seen Marquez in his career, except for the Pacquiao fight, vulnerable. And it's that kind of invulnerability that has made him perhaps less marketable than, say, Barrera, who seemed more human through the years.
Blood now.
Come back from a bad cut over his eye, down perhaps on points.
Now see what happened.
To beat a guy, that will go a long way towards making him a more popular fighter.
Marquez shot a big volley trying to, get even after getting cut. And now that he's trying to take a little break, Jaca's trying to take control again.
Blood streaming down the right side of Marquez's face.
Time. No punching.
Hard headbutt, but the fight is stopped due to the headbutt. They will go to the scorecards to determine a winner. Power punches in round 5, about even. Marquez landing 14 of 43, Jaca 12 of 40. Nice right hand from Juan Manuel Marquez.
Sometimes when fighters aren't good anymore, as good as they used to be, you find out if they're great. And Marquez, though he has some wins against guys like Derek Gainer and Manuel Medina, has never had the signature win against a top guy. He drew with Pacquiao. He lost to Freddie Norwood, controversially.
Rocks Jaca there with 2 rights.
Should he win dramatically here, that's something new in his portfolio, and I think raises his profile among the top fighters in this weight class. And he does seem to be fighting harder since the cut.
And he's, to me, landed more punches in the fight, clean punches, than Jaca. But Jaca still seems to be so relaxed and seems to be very comfortable with the situation, and has been able to take all of the power shots from Marquez, which means that it could be a tough fight for Marquez as it goes down the stretch.
Well, it wouldn't be a dramatic win if it wasn't against a determined guy.
Yeah, Marquez is fighting very determined. I'm very impressed with that. But I'm also equally impressed with this young guy who seems to be unawed about this pro-Mexican crowd, when particularly they're excited about after what happened with Pacquiao in the Mexican last week.
I mean, showing some maturity, Manny.
A lot of maturity, yeah.
Really is. He's getting hit, and it doesn't seem to be taking the fight out of him. Pockets.
Manny, it was only a couple of weeks ago where your fighter, Vladimir Klitschko, he suffered a cut, and we saw his pace pick up a little bit.
Yeah, but that's what good fighters do. When you tell them to pick it up, at least they go out and they try to. And I think Marquez has tried to do the same thing. Good right hand. Good right hand.
Marquez landing flush upstairs on Jimrex Jaca.
Very determined fighter. Now, I like what Marquez is doing. He used to throw that long 1-2, and Jaca was getting out of the way of it, but now he's just getting closer, shooting a right hand lead off the back now instead of the 1-2. And he's been more effective. There it is again. By shooting the right hand without shooting the left, he's been more effective, and Jaca can't time it.
The blood streaming down on the right side of Marquez's face. You see him wiping it off. In between, firing big shots. Fellas, safe to say, not what we expected halfway through the bout.
You know, Marquez's Sunday punch is his left hook, and he has not been able to land that very cleanly very often. It's the straight right hand, and maybe that's one of the reasons Jaca's still around this late in the fight, despite the fast pace.
All right, we are through 6 rounds. Harold, how do you have it?
Okay, Fred, 58-56, won Manuel Marquez. Fred, I got to tell you, I think this kid's won 4 rounds in a row. I'm talking about Marquez. Even with the bleeding, even with the blood going in his eye, he's landed a great right hand, and he's winning these rounds. But I want to say something. You were right about we go to the scorecards after the 4th round in case, you know, the fight is stopped by that cut. But I got to say this. If the fight is stopped in the middle of the round, you score the partial round. So therefore, you got to start fast in every round. Make sure you don't lose the first half because you got to score that partial round. 4-2, Marquez.
Marquez catches Jaca with a left uppercut.
Jaca has a good chin. That's the only reason he hasn't been knocked out, because Marquez is caught him with good punches, and Marquez punches good with both hands. Even though he punches good with the left hook, he has a good right hand. But Jaca just takes a good punch.
Not only is this the kind of fight that will endear Marquez to the fans, but maybe it will make other top fighters think that he's more vulnerable than he used to be, and therefore make it easier to make some of those top fights.
Well, that is truly the case, I believe. I think he gets hit a little bit more than he used to, but he's fighting a lot more, too.
Jaca momentarily there thought he got hit low. Lawrence Cole was having it.
If it was a straight punch on the belt line, so it means that maybe mentally he's starting to fall apart a little bit. But there was nothing serious about the low blow.
Nice uppercut by Marquez, and then he does a nice job of stepping back to get some separation, and he comes back with a left.
I mean, for Marquez, he just landed a right uppercut from the outside against a world-class southpaw.
Yeah,
That's I mean, how do you do something like that?
And no punch has wobbled this boy Jaca yet still. He's been hit with some tremendous shots, but none of the punches have caused him to get in any trouble.
Juan and Manuel Marquez, as I mentioned, he lost 2 fights ago. Unanimous decision to Chris John in Indonesia. He counterpunched his way through that fight, even though he thought he won it. In his last fight against Turtsak Chandang, we saw this type of effort from Marquez.
He's fighting a very good, exciting, power-punching fight tonight, and very determined.
The fight was stopped in the 7th with Marquez winning.
Marquez, the Norwood fight, most people thought he won. He lost the decision. The Chris John fight also, most people thought he won. I thought both fights were very close.
Stop. Stop.
And Juan Manuel Marquez comes right out in the beginning of the 8th round and lands a left hook. Jaca's getting the biggest payday of his career, as you mentioned, Max, $50,000. He says he plans on going back to the Philippines. He wants to build a house. He has a wife.
You can build a couple in the Philippines with 50 grand. He looks like $1 million tonight, though, considering the level of opposition. He's really fighting a spirited, inspired kind of fight.
He says he has no other hobbies. Boxing is it.
Should be said also as we watch Marquez and you think about Pacquiao. People are talking about Barrera in a rematch with Pacquiao. Barrera got knocked out in 5 rounds. Marquez drew in a fight I actually thought he won. Many people did. He didn't lose to Pacquiao. He drew.
It was 2.5 years ago, though.
Yeah, but since then, you know, Barrera got blitzed. Morales got blitzed twice.
The second bite. You okay? Okay? The second bite. Okay? That second bite. Time in. Box.
All right, Lawrence Cole letting us know it's a second accidental headbutt. And you can see once again, Marquez wants to take matters into his own hands. Jaca standing right there with him, going toe-to-toe.
But Jaca came right to him as soon as netted punch for punch.
What an exchange. What a great exchange.
You know, Jaca's going right to him. He's not taking it easy. Both guys are meeting each other head on.
Blood streaming down his face, Fran, down Marquez's face in a furious exchange with a determined contender.
If they go to a scorecard, based on what I'm seeing, Marquez still could win the fight, possibly.
He's not trying to win on the scorecard.
No, they're going for the knockout, both guys.
Marquez sensing the danger with the cuts. Blood now covering the right side of his face.
Time right there. Come here. Come on. Come on, Wani. You have like, how many guys? You're ahead on the scorecard. Okay? When you see how many kills I got. Got one up. All right. Hang on. Time in.
It's a little odd there. Lawrence Cole telling Marquez he was ahead on the scorecard.
Definitely odd. I'm very seldom. I don't recall ever hearing that.
He's basically telling him, it sounds as though he's implying, if you decide you don't want to fight on because of the cut, you're going to win. And Marquez, to his credit, wants to fight on. That's no small thing, folks. His face is ripped open, and he wants to fight on.
How could Lawrence Cole have any idea what the scorecard said?
I don't know how he can know, and if he did know, it's very unusual. It seemed like out of order for him to tell one of the boxers that is. But
they're talking about open scoring in fights, guys, and that's the kind of stuff that would happen in an open scoring system.
Cole say, I can't take another point away because he's doing it accidentally. It's just his style. Marquez with a 25-9 advantage in power punches in the 8th round and 30-17 overall.
When a southpaw fights an orthodox fighter, that happens. There are going to be headbutts. By the way, I said fighters would quit in an open scoring system. There are pros and cons to open scoring. That is a potential con, that fighters with less heart than Marquez would quit knowing they were ahead in the fight.
And a lot of fighters, once they realize that they are comfortable hit on points, they would just actually run the rest of the fight, even if there's no cut involved, just on points, which is what you see a lot in international amateur boxing, which makes it so boring now. Once a guy finds out he's 7-2 ahead, he says, oh, I got 3 more rounds to go, I'll just run.
To Marquez's credit, he's not looking just to win, but to win in a way that will kind of tip the scale away from Barrera and towards him in terms of public demand for a Pacquiao fight.
And he's got 4 more rounds to go altogether. Just the fight is still just a third of the way to get still left to go. That's a long time when you're bleeding like that.
And the guys, a point that was just brought to my attention from the truck, Marquez may not have even known what Lawrence Cole was saying. He may not have understood him.
Good point.
See Jaca wanting to take advantage of the situation. Marquez's corner doing a nice job on that cut, because it is hardly as much of an issue, the blood that is, as it was in round 8.
Really nice job, you're right.
Nacho Bernstein happens to be his trainer, cut man, and manager.
Doing it all, huh?
And has been his manager since he was a kid. I guess when he was about 8 or 9 years old. He's been always the boxing guy in his life, for he and his brother Raw. Rafael.
Jaca now trying to do some work against the ropes, and he comes back with a strong left hook to the body. Oh, big left hook by Marquez. He doubled up, and it floors Jaca. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I'm surprised.
I don't think Jaca knows where he is quite.
No,
This bout comes to an end with an official time of 2 minutes, 48 seconds of the 9th round. Your winner, by way of knockout and still WBO interim featherweight champion of the world, Juan